Finally, a time to relax for a day and go and look at some charts before they run away and do crazy things. Anyway, hopefully everyone's had a great week. I know we have, and it's been kind of a game of wait and see. And now we had some stuff follow through yesterday, and I think maybe we get some opportunities, but kind of wait patiently for a bottom to present itself type of mode. I know you're kind of looking at a few things of opportunity in some of the stuff we were talking about on Tuesday, but now we're like, wow, this is an even better opportunity than we thought it would be. So that was pretty good.
Yeah, I always like it when I get an opportunity to buy dips.
Yes, sir. And the BTFD crew hasn't quite like shown any emphasis on any particular sector yet, but they're kind of waiting like we are, it seems. Both the institutional and the retail side of it. So I kind of wonder what's in the cards for later on when things get moving. As far as I think we're going to see some roboto politics coming out this year that are going to be funny. But you go into the volatility that a Trump administration tends to bring, because from our experience, and then we got to lay into, well, what theme is going to be the best executable trades, and that's kind of where we're looking into. I think later on we're going to talk about how to make money in a Trump administration, and that's going to be a lot of stuff that we're going to lay out in the coming weeks now with what we're seeing for price action and technical analysis, as well as some fundamentals that are just waiting in the wings for things to start getting exciting. So I know there's some themes just waiting to be picked up out there as far as extremities from the things we've been focusing on. So there'll be some opportunity. But Geo here, man, that thing kicked butt yesterday. And we're looking for at least a half MM up to about 33.80 on this guy. And then if things just sort of shoot the moon, let's put the old self-proclaimed analyst target on this thing at about $40 and some change. 40.60 seems like a nice fatty number to get to. And it's just one measure move away. Any thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been in this one since before the election. I'll trim from time to time, but I think from a thematic standpoint, Geo and CXW are going to be huge. The only caution that I would notice here, and I'm not a big volume guy, but the volume, I mean, it was somewhat elevated, but I mean, it wasn't crazy yesterday.
Right on.
And if I were buying this breakout, and again, I already own it, so I'm not. I'd prefer to see more volume on that actual breakout than we did see yesterday.
Agreed. The volume was definitely not anything spectacular to write home about, but it did show that there were some order size differences between the last little spike we had and this one, though. So I did notice that some of the blocks were a little bigger on that one, watching the tape. So
Yeah, and CXW is the exact same kind of look. Wasn't up as much. It's not. I mean, it's not as strong a stock as Geo, but same deal. Pop on decent volume, but if you kind of look back, it's low
yeah,
comparatively.
even on a weekly and monthly, it shows up as like just a blip. And I mean, this is kind of like Geo Junior, I guess you could say, but it's still got the price action set up to maybe go a little trendy here. Let me go ahead and put the block on this thing real quick here. Put it right in the middle. I'm just gonna borrow this one maybe. But anyway, it's been kind of a great day to go and just rip through some charting, and this is kind of what we do. We'll spend some time doing that today. But even a half M on this guy is like 26.25, which is a pretty good move. But let's stick it out there. $30.60 or so would be my self-proclaimed analyst target. We'll just call it that. Other stuff we were looking at on Tuesday that kind of followed through, came into a little bit more of a beneficial area than we were thinking. I'll start with Axion, AXON.
Yeah,
Came
Axon. Yeah.
right down to that pivot and bounced, showed just absolute liquidity on the weekly here. And then, of course, we got a nice bullish candle on the daily close. And I'm thinking we get a 3-bar first, so we'll come back to this height here. And we were talking about the possibility of this forming a morning star pattern, and sure, it's delivering that. I always give the half back on this bar as a first target. So like day traders will probably be targeting about 585, 586 on this coming into tomorrow. And then typically they'll finish a move if it proceeds to absolutely rip bases off tomorrow. It can go all the way to 605 right at the top of this previous bar. Pretty simple analysis on that one. Whoops, why didn't the 4-hour show? Just be aware.
I was looking for, I was hoping for kind of an undercut and rally at that 515 level, which is the low of the gap up. I knew we wouldn't get it, so I ended up, I bought it. I already own it in guns and I own a lot of guns, but I bought it, what's today? So I bought it Tuesday. So a nice little pop yesterday. I'd love to see it, break back above the 50-day, which is 590.66 right now.
And I think the half back of that bar resistance, where you'll see some accumulation, like midday type of thing. If it follows through, it'll fully eat that bar. But typically, we'll see the 8 periods right there at about half for the opening tomorrow, and it makes sense. And then we were looking at. There was a little bit of a turn towards the end of the day on this, where it came back, gave half of the move back almost in the close there and the after hours. And I think maybe we got a pretty good shot of follow through on this for trending. Just kind of watch where that 8 period is on a 2-hour, and it'll give you a sign. If it just wakes up and punches through 578 in the morning in the pre-market, well, don't worry about it. Just ride the trend. But if it starts to threaten breaking through that 8 period, it may give us just a little bit more back before it continues the trend. So short term, the day traders will be on this for sure. But it's already given half back of that bear bar that we were looking at. So it's right in that money, right in that area. I always kind of take a little caution and say be nimble on this first, and then the wait and see in me with the long term stuff says just it needs to break these levels before it gets underway. And I still have a pretty good confidence in that target extension up here to 680 and follow through on that. Could take us as high as 770 up here at the top of the block. It's very possible. Cool stuff. It's a great equity to be in. I still remember when this thing was a penny stock, and
Yeah, Hazer.
Yep. I still kick myself for not hanging on to a big position in that. But hey, I trade, and sometimes I got to deploy my capital elsewhere. Sometimes I don't have time to sit through consolidation, so got to pay my bills. BWXT was another mention, and it came right back down to that block of support down here. And I think we're going to wait and see if this has the 2-hour bear flag where you get the pop of liquidity grab. You see the wick here. It's still got that look like it can follow through and become bearish at this point, but watch this level around 111, 112. It could see some people fall into the BTFD crowd and maybe take this thing for an attempt at half back again up to that 123 level, about half that trend.
And Friday will be interesting because everything nuclear got crushed yesterday. So we'll see whether you could buy the dip across the board. Interestingly, though, just about everything rallied into the close.
Yeah, it's like they were trying to pick up that liquidity at the end of the day. And then I noticed with IONQ and QUBT, it was kind of the same scenario where we just saw a whole bunch of buyers out of nowhere. This one, we had it, just break right through that regression pivot here and then smoked almost all the way to that angular support from that previous wedge. And that's kind of what I usually see with that is like if we get a reversion back to regression, it's very typical. We could see it come up into this next pivot here. And I've talked about the diamond pattern many, many times before, but this is how they start. And your expectation is you just draw a parallelogram out of that previous wedge, and it kind of gives you the clues from there. And we have angular support up here. If we can continue trending there, and just basically build a channel out of it. And then this is the other side of it. Resistance would be right about here. So let me make better parallelogram. Sometimes my drawings suck.
Mhm.
But you get a bounce and it breaks the regression. You get an outside target, and usually it lines up with about the 86.6% fib of the previous high, which is right in line with that. About $48, $49 would be reasonable for an extension if it got a bunch of buyers all of a sudden. And it's almost identical to QUBT. I didn't draw a wedge on that the same way, but it's pretty similar move. Came back, tested the support from the primary move, and we'll see if it bounces off the 50 or not, and gives us a good reversion trade back to like 16, $17. Same kind of deal. And then yeah, the nuclears got eaten up too, and there's opportunity there. It's not as rapid as the quantum computing thing can be, because we still have to remember nuclear is going to take about 10 years to come into.
But according to Jensen, quantum computing is 15 to 30. So
Yeah, according to Jensen. So we'll see.
then the D Wave guys came out and said that's bull.
Yeah,
So
I I mean, it's more than just a battle of wits in this scenario. I mean, if you can contemplate, how fast technology tends to advance when the fire's lit, so to speak. Now we've got like 2 or 3 rooms full of computers in one of these things, and where do we go next? Well, quantum computing is kind of been there for a while in the thought process of where do we go next. Back when there was a couple room full of computers making things happen, you got to kind of wonder, on a scale of what is possible. It doesn't necessarily matter who's right. It's going to matter when you put the proof in the pudding, so to speak, and things start to come to actuality instead of just a pipe dream. So I think in time, it isn't going to matter, who's right or wrong about this. The whole point is, what do we perceive from the current conditions, and what can we see the outcome being as far as price action goes? It usually tells the tale anyways ahead of time. Pretty much everything you see in a chart is just like looking at a chart of human psychology on how they feel about something. You're literally seeing feelings on a chart, and there's some influences there by all the algos and all the bigger things that are kind of making things move, but it's all the same sentiment. It's just a matter of thought, how people are feeling about things. And when people are really, really overly reacting to things, we can plot that as the primary move, like I did here, and then the reality check comes in and takes it back to earth. But there's still a sense of, now people who have missed that first opportunity will tend to focus on another opportunity, and here it is. So we'll see where that takes price action, and then all the stuff that says 10 to 30 years out, eh, give it time. It'll eventually shake out. I mean, even Amazon started from basically nothing. So
yeah, I mean, to me, it's the type of thing you have to be there. So I think Google is a must own.
yeah,
Some of these others are going to be risky. I think you can put on some long-term option positions with an amount you're comfortable losing. And then in the short term, I mean, these things lend themselves very well to the types of strategies that I do and the types of strategies that you do. So, I could set up, ratio spread on one of these names. I could, if the quantum ETF, which sucks, but it's the only thing out there, if it has options,
right.
I would assume it does. I could do a credit spread on those and use that to buy one of these names.
I mean, you almost use the credit earned from the speculation to pay
It
for.
doesn't have options.
Ah,
That's stupid of them. They should have gotten options on this thing.
all right.
When I do my quantum ETF, we'll have options.
There you go. If you can't, well, they say you can't beat them, join them. But I like to
Well, no,
say,
I mean we're gonna have a much better quantum ETF
right.
than this one. I
I'm
mean,
just,
the one of the biggest holdings in QTUM is MicroStrategy. That makes no sense.
I just always say that's a bad attitude to say when you can't beat them, join them. Well,
When
why
you
even
can't beat
bother?
them, you beat them.
Exactly. Why bother when you know you can beat them? So
Right.
yeah, but it's a matter of who can. It's not a race. It's a who can come up with the best idea first is always an issue when it comes to convincing people that that idea is true and correct. But when you actually follow through with the idea yourself and you show that you believe in it, that's when things really make sense to everybody else. So yeah, I see
Yep.
exactly where you're going with that. um, Another mention was Soundhound here. Holy smokes! I mean, that's the pullback of perfection right here. Made our 2-for-1 move, came right back down to support on the primary. Can it hold here? I didn't see the BTFD crowd come in at the end of the day on this one. I think we still have a
No,
little
only
ways
a
to go.
drop. Not much. I mean, you could argue there is some support around that 15 area. Nothing great.
Agreed.
You've got the 50-day at 12:30. I mean, you could have some more downside here. I think yesterday I added to my position, small leaps. You could probably also do a ratio spread on this one short term if you wanted to.
You can do calendars off your leaps too, like the old PMCC or poor man's covered call. But it depends on how you wanted to play the capital in it. Um, I'm going to be patient with this one. I think we do see an obvious liquidity zone right here. So if it breaks through this 1420 area, which is a previous secondary move, we could see it test this liquidity here, and it definitely has some downside risk to about 12 and a half or so. If I see a reversal anytime between here and there, I'll be on board with going long on it for the long haul as well. You can see the obvious part here where you've got that set up to follow through here. If we see a daily candle just pop a big wick into this area and then hammer off into a close, yeah, we can get the reversion trade. But I'm still thinking this trend is still trying to keep that squashed a little bit for a little while. We'll see where it ends up. A couple others we were looking at. What was it? FLR was a different scenario with the different different theme we were in. But yeah, kind of some similar scenario, just coming down, finding liquidity. It tapped it yesterday, and we did see, a few buyers towards the end of the day on this one, but it already gave half back of the trend on the short term. So I would love to see it consolidate here first before I believe in it to be long for the long haul on this. But broadening patterns at a base. Remember that diamond pattern? I used to go crazy about diamond patterns, but they give you the angulars right here, and it comes right into the between moves here. And then that's the resistance point. Support point would be just coming off of an angular to find around $50 or so. So it makes sense. It could probably just consolidate here for a little while, I think. And then there's Mara. Should we get into the Bitcoin stuff? I've I've got a bit
Yeah,
of a
no,
I got a bit of a thesis on Bitcoin, and then I don't trade it directly anymore. Sometimes I'll trade the futures on it, but for the most part, I'm into the equities that are reflected by it more than anything because I hate dealing with the taxes that you have to deal with on the brokerage side from trading actual
then
coins.
buy options on BTCL.
That's the way to be. And that's where I'm looking. I'm looking at a move to test support on Bitcoin, but I wanted to talk about Mara kind of mirroring that. And it's got this what I call the red zone back here. If it breaks through this pivot at 17 and a half and starts to melt through 16, yeah, Houston, we got a problem. We'll be bearish all the way down to the next zone. But comparatively, you go into Bitcoin. should have had this just kind of put on the watch list where I can just click on it. Daily chart, we've got liquidity right here. It's very obvious. It's kind of in a 1.5 measured move state. If we find support there, we'll get a short-term reversion trade, but it's still possible, revisiting of this move here. That is possible. So I should almost make this LZ red, because if it trips that wire, yeah, there's going to be some bears involved here. But for now, the short term on a 2-hour chart shows we should reject the 20 period on a 2-hour and continue this trend, at least to the base of the secondary move here, which we did touch with a wick. Consider that the opposite of a high wave where you get a low wave. I think we'll visit that again, and then if we fall through and make a measure move down to half an mm is about 88,000. So 88 to 89,000. Half the mm is 89, and then the red zone base here is about 88. So we could see Bitcoin be a little bit bearish for a while, and it's kind of due for a pullback in that just parabolic sense anyway. That was kind of a too far, too fast move. Yes, we all had that same $100,000 target, but it's the now what stage where we should see a reasonable pullback. And I think if we can hold this zone cool, it can be just a short-term pullback and continue trending. And everybody's talking about that $250,000 target now already, which is, I think that's the old, if you watch the Fast and the Furious button too soon, Junior, you hit the button too fast on the nitrous oxide. Give it some time, be patient, and I think we let the price action do its thing. It'll tell us what to do next, but in the meantime, this is, I think, going to be a wait and see if this is just a pullback or if this is going to be bearish for a little while before we see some the rest of the BTFD crew show its face and start to take off with it. But people.
So on Mara, I bought when it peaked over the 200-day. So that looks like Friday. I financed it with a call credit spread on IBIT. So the beauty is the total trade, I'm only down a drop. I did the same thing with Riot. Must have done it earlier because I'm up big. Oh yeah, I must have done it earlier. I'm up big on my Riot calls, which is nice. Long term, I am bullish on Bitcoin. I mean,
Oh yeah.
again, I think we've got an administration and a president who is pro crypto. There are other things that are going to be happening that I know about and can't comment on. So I am bullish on Bitcoin longer term.
Same.
As a trade here, you look at, BTCL undercut and rally at the 50-day. I mean, I wouldn't be averse to taking a stab. I mean, I already own options on that one. So I think, I'm down big
comparatively,
on those, but I financed it with an IBIT spread. So
comparatively on Riot, I mean, it's kind of still going through the end process of market structure here. So like if we do have this as a pullback and we do find support at that red zone on Bitcoin, it would make sense because this is about where you would see general market structure start to trend about here. So if it holds this area and we start to see that, then Riot could follow through with that as well. And reversion target for Riot, as most people know, is about 3150, 3160 or so. Just kind of pointing that out. It's just a mean of this entire trend type of move. And all it's got to do is just break market structure. So yeah, I'm still generally bullish long term on Bitcoin as well, but the volatility is usually just opportunity for both my strategies and your strategies. So it makes sense. Can we say that maybe it may be a good idea to perhaps have a couple callers going too, or something similar where you're in a situation where you can either lose a little bit if you're wrong and make a lot if you're right without having to do something so complex. It would make sense. And either way you do it, I mean, whether you're selling credit spreads on one to pay for debit spreads on another or long position on another, or just a simple collar strategy on the same equity that you're interested in. They both do about the same thing. Just one's a little bit a few more steps than the other, so to speak. Well, let me double check the chat here. Okay, cool. Thanks for joining us, by the way, everybody. A couple other things we wanted to talk about, and this is kind of one that we've been on the theme for, was the energy stuff. So the other energy is not quite in an area of interest for most of the market right now. But I did notice that NFE gave us another chance. So I took a long position yesterday on that little drop here. Some of that ending liquidity was possibly me, and I did take some longs. I can see that going for a short-term reversion trade. So my short-term target is $15 on that, and then from there, if it trends, cool, so be it. If not, I'm in a position where I've got plenty of backup plans in this guy. Comparatively, you go into like TLN, and kind of the same deal. We saw a lot more buyers on that yesterday than we would think was going to be the.
And NFE, I don't have. TLN, I do.
Yeah.
So,
And I like TLN too. I mean, I think we talked about it on Tuesday, saying we're likely to see a pullback, and we got it. We got the full measure on it. I didn't put the measurement blocks in here, but I knew about here was the mean of consolidation from the previous trend. So, and I'm sure I wasn't the only one looking, because boy, did the buyers run that right back up for a halfback. So, yeah, I think the bulls are in for TLN, and going into the long term on this guy, I'm still pretty much gung ho about that 233.70 target I had up here from before. Didn't quite hit it before, but think of it like a highway. This is where everybody wants to be, and this is where the longs are picking it up. So go to the weekly chart, and you realize, yeah, this thing's been parabolic from the get-go. So if it hits that target, I almost wonder if at least this energy company is going to pull back around there. It's hard to grasp, because it's been parabolic from the get-go like this. We don't always see that continue to go, to the stratosphere straight out of the box. Usually there's got to be some consolidation in there. Has it consolidated before with a couple pullbacks? Yes, but it never achieved market structure. So that's where I would be a little concerned. If it blasts through this, so be it. I'll eat my words and stay along with it. But I think right around this target is where we're going to see something kind of take some of the sting out of the bullish sentiment, so to speak. Just my opinion on it, but
yeah.
Should we keep shorting Upstart?
Let's see. I believe I am still short Upstart. I am. I'm only up 10% on my puts, unfortunately. I don't know. Maybe I got back in. Maybe I got out and got back in. That's got to be it.
The daily gave us a close of a doji yesterday, and that's where I'm a little bit concerned. I'm like, well, it happens to be right in half a measure move for our bear target. So, you pull up the 2 hour, and it's like we didn't see any buyers come and chase this thing into the close yesterday, but I think we still, even though we printed a doji, possibly have a leg down to continue to that 55.60 target at least. But pay attention to Friday and maybe into the beginning of next week. If that doji holds true on a daily, where you get indecision and it pops back up, cool. But I think in at least the short term, we're going to still finish moving down through this gap, and that's right where that target is.
It
So
looks like there's some support in that 57 area, and that's kind of where it bounced a bit yesterday. That'd be the only, I mean, I'm still short. That'd be the only thing I'd be concerned about, is I'd love to see it break through that. If it breaks through that, I mean, there are some other areas, but that 200-day at 40.27 is ominous.
yeah, agreed. And it's got the momentum to take it there. So it could easily continue running right through that liquidity zone tomorrow. So yeah, I kind of noticed that. I was looking at the daily chart here, and there's the wick at the bottom of that gap that I didn't illustrate, but I know it was there. And if you're going to see some limit orders change hands, that's where it'll be, and that's what happened yesterday. So to be continued. in spite of you don't have a full on evening star pattern here, but you get the idea. It's still at the base of a trend channel, and it's a tightening wedge. So yeah, it could still bounce here, but it may not. It may just go and finish that move and then bounce. So yeah, be nimble on this one if you're still short. That's all we can say. And I think we've been saying that for a week now.
Yep.
Mining started looking interesting yesterday, and my little gold digger here, SSRM took off yesterday, and I went and bought that dip, baby. Can I still see it hitting $9 in the near future? Target is still up there. If you go to the weekly, it's right at the top of that big bar. But I'm gonna play it safe and say target about 875 first, and then we'll see where it goes from there for this particular equity. And then if you compare it to the person they've been, or the equity, the company they've been buying property from. If you go to dang it, I lost the name of it. I had it on the tip of my tongue. NEM, Newmont. Newmont is even showing some signs of some of that liquidity from the property sales starting to fall into equity. But do I trust it to make a full reversion trade from here? It's still kind of a guess. I helped one of my buddies with a collar strategy with the 3750 strike. He still has some time on that one. The call side is expired, so he's collected all the credit from this drop, but the put side is still holding. I think it may be time to roll that out another couple weeks or a month at least. So maybe hang on to a collar strategy still, unless this gives you a nice reversal. The call side, you might set somewhere around 42 or something for a reversion if you were to build that strategy now. But if you're rolling it and it was pre-existing, you can go much higher. You can probably go clear to like 45 from that. So it makes sense to have that strategy handy when you need it. And this is one where if you're in this equity, that was beautiful. I must say, well played on that one.
Very good. I'll be looking at GDXJ
Yeah,
tomorrow. If you look at the chart, either it is a textbook downtrend, and yesterday was just a lower high,
right.
or it's an undercut and rally at the 200-day moving average.
Well, this is
So one of the ways I like to play this is I'll do a call, credit spread on GDX or GDXJ, and then I'll buy Nugget, which is, I forget, either 2x or 3x.
right. Just playing one to trade the other. And I was kind of noticing this descending wedge is at the compression part where it popped through the regression line. So this is kind of it can go either way. And it had a nice little pullback on the bear trend here, but can it get through? I always split these when I'm trading them. If you've ever followed my day trading strategies, sometimes I'll talk about fan lines, and this is essentially you can build them on daily charts as well. And it stopped exactly at that split, so it's halfway between regression and angular. So it can go either way here. And I can agree with you on yeah, it might be just a pause in the trend and continue back down a little bit, but consolidation says it's made a half move right here anyway. So yeah, it can go either way. So definitely, if you're gonna grab that, be much more nimble than you'd like. Or I'm gonna be patient on GDXJ myself and wait and see. I'll trade the trend rather than grab either side of it here. But if you're gonna use it to pay for something else, that's the better strategy, I think. Let's see here. What else were we looking at?
CEG.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
CEG, interesting, undercut the low that it made on that gap up day in September, and then came right back, also undercut 3 moving averages, 50-day, 10-day, and 20-day, and closed above all of them.
Yeah.
So, interesting. I already had a position. I did add to it yesterday on that move. So we'll see how things play out on Friday.
Yeah, that shows the BTFD crowd in action right there. I mean, that's beautiful. The wedge is still kind of in that point, and this is what I was kind of pointing out with GDXJ, kind of similar. So it can go either way once it hits that regression, but when you hit the split, if you were to draw right down here, drawings can get kind of out of hand and make the chart messy as hell, but they're still worth doing. Popped right through that split, printed a doji right on top of angular resistance, came up. This is the old trap detector here. It didn't exceed the high here. Came right back down, tested the base of the box that day, went right down through the regression to the lower split. So fan lines are an interesting thing, and sometimes you can draw them backwards. And if you look, that wick goes exactly to that split where they found liquidity here. So go to the 2 hour, and now you've got all these price targets. So consolidate here, and I think Friday will give you either it will rip back into a half back of this trend here and hit up about 255.80 or so, or it will come right up to the angular here and pull back, and then continue to consolidate in here before going with a follow through. From a technical analysis standpoint, that's where it makes sense to me. But yeah, I do like it. It's definitely interesting, and we got some things to work out before we follow through. But I think the BTFD crowd was all over that, and it wasn't just small orders. If you watch the tape, there was a lot of big blocks in that move. So, you know, institutional buyers are behind that as well. So, can we play that out and finish that measured move? It's still possible. And that, you know, the primary, in spite of that gap, gave you everything you need to know for bull targets on this thing. Should we get into a couple of the other metals? Like we were looking at FCX, and realized
so far so good on that trade.
Yeah, beautiful. And then it's got the old IHS right at the half move, and it came right back through the neckline. So short term, we're looking for Tuesday. We talked about this. We were looking for this liquidity zone, and this is right where we A to B'd it yesterday, and then accumulated on top of it. Can it follow through? Tough call. I mean, if you look at this as a point of decision, it also looks like a double top to some. So you got the high here, the high here. As long as it holds in this liquidity zone and continues to push through, cool. We can be bulls on this thing. The bearish target was never met for the 100% move, but we got close enough. And if you look left, that's where all the accumulation was in the past anyway. So we could say there's a regression line on that wedge that plays right into here anyway. What do you think? Are we going to pop through this thing, or we should wait?
I mean, you know, I'd wait if you're not in it right now because it was a nice big move. But you know, we had an undercut rally at the 10-day. I also watched the 20-day EMA. It's poking up ahead of that. I mean, I think we got upside here.
I mean, it's leaning on upside more than downside, and it did break the resistance level that we were looking at. Yeah, I could be leaning a little bit more bullish than bearish on this one. It can definitely reverse here, and if you look, the accumulation's right in that half block anyway. So yeah, I can agree with you on that. It's good for at least a half back up to like 43, 44 here. So it was a good short before. Now it's trade the chart. I almost wonder what any analyst would say about that. I'm sure Kramer's probably made a comment or two on FCX. He's always talking about that one and a couple others, but one of the ones that were...
Remember, Kramer did say you still have time to get out of the quantum names.
Right.
So now the question is, do you still have time to get in them when they gap up on Friday?
That's the thing. And the BTFD crowd can pop out of nowhere, especially when Kramer talks about it. So
yeah,
will give us a Kramer bar. The other one was where the sale of it was blocked. You know, if you look at U.S. Steel, it doesn't really give us the same setup as FCX. I mean, they're kind of peers. So now we just got choppy garbage here. Who the hell knows? We'll figure that out later. But at any point it is in a support area. It can maybe trend on top of the 8 period here, but it 20 periods pointed damn near straight 45 degrees down still. So I think maybe it's got some consolidation to do first. One other metal I tend to follow. Let me see if I can pull up the other chart here without destroying everything else I had up. Where did it go? It's in one of my sub tabs somewhere. It was platinum. Platinum futures were making a rebound and kind of like RTY kind of leads the other two futures. I think platinum's kind of setting the trend on that. It's been bullish and looking good, but it hasn't quite hit the 1,000. I'll get the chart up here somehow. Give me 1 second. I gotta find it first. I had it out and I freaking buried it. It's in one of the tabs somewhere. I think I was looking up car parts or something. No. Maybe. Nope, that wasn't it. Oh yeah, I was looking at flooring. It's gone. Sorry. But if you look at platinum futures, they're bullish at the point where gold tends to kind of follow through. Some of the other metals tend to follow through. So maybe we do get long on the miners. But for now, U.S. steel is just in flux. But I think the better trade is going to be at FCX for sure. And then what other ones we were looking at? CCJ.
Yeah.
We didn't quite get into
same deal as like CEG and some of the other stuff. Bounced at the 200-day close, way off the lows.
Yeah, I think everybody looks at that 200-day and they certainly chased it right off that bounce. But it did give us a reversion right back to previous consolidation here, even though that took place in the after hours and pre-market of yesterday. It dropped exactly to that 200-day and bounced like a ball. Is it going to continue to consolidate here, or we think maybe it'll give us a little bit more of a BTFD crowd showing up on Friday here? That's a tough call, but it certainly is interesting off that 200.
Yeah, I mean, my vote would be continue to bounce, but whenever you've got a day off in between, that can mess things up a bit.
I'm going to throw down an angular and say there's some resistance right at it. So probably look for maybe a reciprocate move up to about 53 or 54. That would make sense to me. That'd be right about where that 86.6 fib is the previous high. So
54.77 is the 50 day.
Aha, you're right. That's a possibility. And we printed a nice clean hammer down here. It can be a 3-bar right up to that. Good point. Yeah, watch this one on Friday. I think it's going to give us some opportunity. And then, what were some of the other nuclear names that got beat to crap yesterday?
Let's see. I would assume Oklo got beat to crap. Yeah, down 11% off the lows.
Whew. It's still played right in the half move though.
And then I mean, everything was down like 11%.
Yeah.
SMR down 9.39. And they all look the same. I mean, and everything closed well off the low.
I wonder what my LTBR looks like. Same. Almost exactly the same. Yeah, I don't know that there's opportunity there, but we do have a broadening pattern here, and we could say maybe get a reversion trade to about $6 on that one for short term, but I wouldn't hold my breath. Maybe 620 would be a good reversion trade. This might make a good day trade tomorrow for a rebound trade. Yeah, keep an eye on that one. This was my pick when we were getting into the nuclear theme, and it blew me away. Nailed well above and beyond my $12.74 target, but it's not done yet. I think it's still going to be volatile, but this broadening pattern tells me expect at least one more reversion trade, and then we'll see if it trends down or up from here. That was a fun trade for me. I enjoyed getting in on that one, but look way left, even further left. I'm going to blow the chart up. market structure has already had its way with it once. This is twice. So this one's kind of maybe trade the little day trades in it, but I wouldn't go long term and invest in this thing anytime soon yet. Let it consolidate and give its sign of stability first. And again, 10 years. Did we talk about VLO yet?
VLO?
Yeah, Valero Energy. This is one you mentioned last week, I think it was, and it followed through to
Yeah, I
the
mean, I like it.
from last week. It followed through. It held that red zone we were talking about and kind of oozed its way up to the next liquidity zone, and now it stopped right in the middle of it yesterday. I think it'll follow through and push to 125, 126, and then probably give us some consolidation first. But that was beautiful. I would say a 130 reversion target is still in play, but be cautious around here. Just look left, you'll see the previous consolidation. It's pretty obvious it'll do it again. As far as data on previous encounters goes, that's usually the MO is it'll consolidate there, but we were right to be bullish for short term. We did good on that. I'm not going to pat myself on the back for that one though. That was too easy. Any other things we got to whip through real quick? I know Biden was talking about maybe some reconciliation with the chip makers being able to continue exporting. So of course Nvidia and AMD got beat up. Are they done, or are we going to follow through with this massive measured move that we have plotted out here? Well, the bear flag completed. It just needs to confirm break of support for AMD here. If we smoke, 120 tomorrow, we could see follow through on that thing right down to 104 pretty easily for AMD anyway. Is it looking the same for Nvidia? Maybe not so much. I think maybe the reversion trade to 136 is in order here first, and then we'll see what the rest of the deal goes. But
Yeah, I like Nvidia here. Undercut and rally at the 50-day. Day before, you kind of had sell on the news of Jensen's talk, and then they tried to sell it off today and they failed, or yesterday and they failed. So
it rebounded really
like
nicely
it.
off the 20-day period or 20-day moving average, and yeah, I think that's about a half step down anyway. So let's see if it doesn't reach down to 136 again. Maybe we got a pretty good chance of follow through for at least a quick reversion trade to 140. But yeah, I'm gonna be a little bit into day trading that tomorrow. Maybe I'll do some NVDX and mess with that a little bit with equity. But I wonder if let me look a little further out. I mean, the fear was there was a little bit of the double top pattern here, kind of presenting itself. But then when they attempted to sell it off yesterday and they bounced off the 20, I wonder if that fails that structure and we start to see this as a consolidation point where this gives us the primary. Let me borrow the block here and I'll see if I can print that out real quick. And then we would see, whoops, don't grab the pivot. Follow through for short terms, like a half move would be like 158.50 and then a full move would be like 178. So I can see what we're looking for price targets on the outcome of this, but let's see what happens with this LZ first and see if it follows through. I think I'm just going to be a little more patient with it, but day trading is certainly going to be some good volatility in this for a couple days. Did we look at Apple yet? Hate when we get towards the end of it, we run out of stuff to talk about. And it's just the market's closed and we're just half asleep anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. I'd wait for Apple around the 50 days, see what it does.
Same. I mean, it's got that potential pullback to previous liquidity here on a weekly, and we can see that we got some liquidity right in there. Where's that look on the daily? Yeah, right in there. It's half back of the trend, and the 50 days are right there waiting. Good point. Either way you look at it, I think Apple's due for some payback, and then later on, I'm still long-term bullish on it to finish this move, and a pullback is appropriate here.
Yeah, no, I am too.
It's a great stock to own, and that, and you go into the ability to grow here is actually pretty high if you peek at some of the the fundamental stuff. Um, Throwing kind of new firmware into an older phone design that was kind of ahead of its time when it came out anyway is kind of why we're seeing some retribution here, I think. But I think they got something in the pipe for this year that's going to kind of blow all that away. So there's definitely room to grow here. Will they surprise us? Probably. Last bit I wanted to go through was some of those other financials like PayPal. Brain fart. Still kind of looking bearish for most people, but I call that a diamond top if I've ever seen one, and it's right in that span of that liquidity zone. Get ready for PayPal to make some pretty big moves here. And if you look way back to that wedge, the split is right at a key point where if you see a quick sell-off on it and it gives you a half M down from that previous bar here, I think we'll touch right around 83 or 84 bucks and then just get ripped by a BTFD crowd. I still have a pretty good assumption that we're going to at least make one of these reversion targets, and they're pretty damn lofty from here, but not out of the realm of possible. The only thing I'm worried about though is the 200-week moving average kind of splits it down to where I think we're going to stop at a $100 bill for a while before things get moving. But so far the trend is definitely confirmed. We just need to see a little bit of a consolidation here and a follow through.
Yeah, I mean that's what it looks like to me. Stock that wants to go sideways for a bit.
Yeah,
but
but
sides.
The way the options chain is on it, it's not like I played the edge and I did really well, but I'm like looking at if you're going to try to do that now, it wouldn't be good until the end of that consolidation. So for now, you can probably get shorter term stuff and scalp things with just some tight spreads. But that price action is not going to be that great in that consolidation to do anything. However, once you see a good drop in implied volatility, it might be a prime target for running some calendars or some long leaps and then sell some front months on there to pay for it, something like that. And then you go into AFRM and kind of realize that
I'm short AFRM.
Everybody's short. I think we're still right into that reversion target. I think 56 bucks is pretty much set in stone on this thing, and that momentum is strong, man. This is like an opportunity to where if you sold some credit spreads on this to kind of pay for a long on PayPal, it makes sense to me to play that with your strategy.
Yep.
The other one we were looking into, we were looking at shorting SoFi, and we did good on it, but it broke that range we're talking about, so it's still got a little bit more of a chance of testing the support here on the liquidity from that daily bar, but the 50 period is where it stopped yesterday on the close. I almost wonder if this is going to give us a reversion trade in short term. And it was a great short, but now I'm thinking maybe we give a quick half back before we resume. So maybe about $14.90 to 15 bucks is a good reversion target for a bounce here. But the trend is still kind of trying to push it down here to 14 bucks. So if you're messing with this thing, it's got really decent premium for the options chain if you wanted to wheel this. But I don't know that I would take a position here just yet. I wait for this to settle down a little bit. But I do enjoy wheel trading SoFi. It's pretty fun when it's right, but it's not one I stick around in. And then comparatively, my TNA play just smoked all that stuff for premium. So yesterday I was able to sell some January 20. What expiration was that? I'll have to look at the chain. Oh yeah, options right up here. Sorry, my bad. January 24. I was able to sell the 38 puts for a nice little penny here. I got $1 on the first one that I sold. I only got 3 of them to fill and averaged $1.12, but man, they came down pretty damn quick. Can I see that we hold this area and bounce? That's what I'm thinking is we'll have a failed bear flag scenario where we start seeing some liquidity get grabbed here. And yesterday we did see that BTFD crowd come out, and that's where I sold some puts, right in that gauge, right in that area. And I'm thinking we'll probably make a short-term reversion trend and push through the $45 range, and then maybe um, start looking at fibs from that massive sell-off bar in here. So it's still got good potential to be an excellent wheel trade. And here we're looking at a good possibility of a decent entry on that, because I don't see small caps evaporating in this environment unless the Fed is like stonewalling everything Trump wants to do and keeping the rates high. I don't know. I think they're going to surprise and possibly have to give up a little bit and pull the rates back this year. Just my opinion on it, but I don't know. I can't play the Fed, but I know they're always well behind and well misinformed. So we'll see what they do. Any thoughts on the Fed from your end?
I mean, I think you've got to assume they're going to be behind the curve, and the market thinks they're behind the curve. And, treasuries are telling you that rates should not be being cut. So there you go. I
Agreed.
did actually, I went long TLT the other day, so we'll see. I mean, I think it's bottom for now, but
I was just
I think
typing
the
that
Fed's
in.
behind the curve.
Um, Sig and I, when we were talking about TLT, we took this long right up to that target, that 94.40. It just stinking nailed it methodically, and then we flipped our script and went short and killed it. And we finally closed all of our shorts yesterday, so yeah, it makes sense for a good bounce here. Can I see the writing on the wall with the inverse head and shoulders down here at the base of the block for that bearish measure move? Hell yeah. Can I say that I want to go long here? Yeah, I think we might take a long here, but I want to see 1 or 2 more days of consolidation before I go long on TLT. But the target for short term for me is just a reversion back to that previous accumulation around 87.60 or so, about a half block back. And yeah, I think you're right. I think they're just going to be continuing to be behind the curve. I think they're going to be slow to react, and they're going to try and put the kibosh on lowering rates, at least in the first half of this year. But I think they're not going to have a choice but to do something towards the third quarter there and start to change their face just a little bit to save face, if nothing else. Good times. In the meantime,
Yeah,
premium keeps paying me, so I'll keep selling it.
there you go.
It's the only way to be in these market conditions. All right, guys, stay tuned. We'll be back next week on Tuesday, and then Thursday we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're still kind of putting some plans together to make everything happen, but I think we're going to do something a little different and kind of spread it out to where there's a little bit more interaction from the viewers and subscribers. So we're going to keep that real and take it to the next level. So